Hey, this is Dan St. Germain. Hello, Forbidden Dorks. Anyone in the Dallas area, I'll be at Dallas Comedy Club March 1st and 2nd. Two shows, Friday, March 1st at 7:30, Friday, March 1st at 9:30, Saturday, March 2nd at 7:30, and Saturday, March 2nd at 9:30. You can get the tickets on dallascomedyclub.com or on my website. It should be a great show. And my new special, Dance Fatty Dance, comes out on March 12th. So see you then, folks.
Welcome, everyone, to Wrestle Roast. I'm your host, Robert Karplis, and I am joined, as always, in crystal clear HD audio by Scott Chaplin. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And we are joined by, you can't see it because this is audio, but he's got a really nice collared shirt on today. Dan St. Germain is here.
Hello. Good to be back on Wrestle Roasts on this road to WrestleMania.
The road to WrestleMania, guys. We got a ton of shit to talk about today. We're going to preview the Elimination Chamber for this Saturday. We're going to talk about The Rock announcing he's a producer of a new movie. We'll get into that. We're going to talk Dynamite or Dud, some of the breaking news coming out of there. But we're going to start with the world of Vince McMahon. We've said on here that the Vince news of late, we haven't had a lot of late breaking stuff come out, but there's been some rumblings going on. And Dan, who's our resident crime podcast aficionado, what are you seeing here, man?
Well, you know, this is all allegedly. I mean, like, you have to
Oh,
have
rumor and innuendo.
all rumored innuendo, right? But so I have there's been rumblings, that the some of the Ring Boy stuff has been coming back out. There was a new Ring Boy who, accused a lot of the people at the time of grooming. He was just on the podcast of and I forget the brother of one of the Ring Boys who ended up killing himself later on. Um, so I give that because it's like you that person does, that person blames WWE for his brother's, death. So it's not a, I mean, like, like I heard the guy's interview, and it's not, it's a compelling story. It doesn't sound particularly made up, so if that, if that comes out, I think it's going to be a really bad look for the company. This was kind of like, this was, if you don't really know anything about the Ring Boy scandal, it happened right as the steroid scandal was happening, and the government kind of focused on the steroid scandal, and they didn't look at the Ring Boy scandal. And there's a lot of culpability there.
So
It's
what
a
I'll
dark
say to
story.
that, guys, is if you haven't, we've recommended this book before, and the author is a friend of the show. It's called Ringmaster. It's written by Abraham Reisman, who now goes by Josie Reisman. In the book, they break down the Ring Boy scandal. They
Did he change
interview.
his name because Vince was trying to kill him?
No, he transitioned
Oh,
while
God
after
damn it,
writing the
Robert.
book. We're a very trans friend. We've had several trans
No,
guests
yeah,
on the
hell
show.
yeah, I
We
love
are
that. And that's a great
allies or
name.
or whatever.
Josie's the hottest lady's name.
Yes, it's of all the
Yeah.
Pussycats, that was the best one.
Oh,
But yeah,
absolutely.
the book breaks down, like, because there's a lot of weird shit about going to a talk show where, and they have like, and they have the kid, like, they send Miss Elizabeth to take the kid to the talk show because he was a Miss Elizabeth fan, to get him sympathetic to the cause. The thing about the Ring Boy scandal, though, is it's not directly Vince. It's like Vince doing
No, it's
his,
it's Mel Phillips, it's Terry Garvin,
it's him doing his cover up shit. It's Snuka with the suitcase
Tom
of
Cole,
money.
and Tom Cole is the original, Ring Boy who went public with the story of abuse in 1992 following an incident, I guess, at Garvin's residence. Um, I mean, there's definitely, Vince did admit, I guess, that his relationship with children, and he's talking about Phillips, seemed peculiar and unnatural. But they did rehire him. And Lee Cole, who's Tom Cole's brother, Tom Cole died by suicide in 2021. He has a podcast where he's talking to somebody who's new. All he has is the name. His name is Sean, and he talks about the story, but it doesn't, to give you an idea, it doesn't. It feels, like the way they're describing it, it's like I read the Penn State book, and it feels like, one of the, like, similar to how Sandusky would groom a lot of their victims now. This is obviously, as I said before, I think a lot
Yeah,
of skeletons.
Dan let me borrow that book, and the pages were stuck together. I couldn't even read it.
Couldn't read a damn thing.
Heyo.
I knew a joke was coming because there's no way Scott was going to read a book. But yeah, so
it's a brutal story, man. If it's true, and I have no reason to. I think some of the stuff can be construed as true. I think a lot of it got messed up because there's so much homophobia at the time that, like, they connected homosexuality with pedophilia, and I think that that's why some of it went away, because there was some overblown exaggerations with that. But there can be fucking straight child predators and gay child predators, right? It's not like it's not that's its own thing. That's not sexual orientation. That's a psychological.
It's not as overt as what you had with, like, Jake Roberts' dad, like, where he was just showing up at shows with, like, 13-year-old girls, like, is he riding in the cars with them, and everyone's just like, yeah, no, we're gonna not only keep him around, we're gonna hire him in WCW as a backstage producer. It's all, not that any of it's excusable, but it's just sort of it was pervasive in wrestling at the time. I think the Vince stuff in the allegations right now is the first time you're getting these sort of firsthand accounts of what he personally did. The Rita Chatterton stuff was so Chatterley, whatever, it was a long time ago. You didn't have that sort of spotlight on it. Now the Ashley Massaro piece is coming out, but that's not her family accusing
The
Vince
Ashley
of doing
Massaro
it.
one, and that one's been so bizarre because there's
Yes.
just so many different elements of it where the lawyer came out and said that she was assaulted by this army doctor, raped by this army doctor. And then she came out and denounced the lawyer and said, the lawyer doesn't speak on her behalf. But, then her friend just came out and basically supported the lawyer's story. Now Ashley's daughter just came out and said that the story is true, but this friend does not speak for the family. And this is the problem when somebody's deceased, it's really like, I don't think we're ever going to find out what really happened there. Because it's been right now Ashley's gone, and we're just kind of hearing secondhand accounts of people who talk to Ashley, and some of those people aren't necessarily on the same page. I mean, the one thing that she's never come out and said the story wasn't true, I don't believe, but she said that the lawyer wasn't speaking on her behalf. But it's a messy story. It's a terrible story if it's true. But I don't think we're ever going to really find out, like, what really happened, just because of different.
You could, but the only way it would happen is if WWE said, "Look, we've gone into our archives. Here's the report that she gave HR. Here's the detailed account. Here's what was covered up. We're atoning for this now. We're paying the family or whatever." If they choose to do that.
What I was about to say, Robert, is the one thing we do know is they denied that there was a meeting about it. Now Johnny Ace, to get in front of it, it seems like before this trial, has said yes, he was informed that this was an issue. I mean,
Yeah.
all this stuff is before TKO came over, so like it's there's so many different layers to this, and so many different people that are, like even the Ring Boy scandal, the people that I mentioned, they're the primary people involved in it, are all dead. So it's going to be really hard to find the truth in any of these situations.
This is on Vince for not having the decency to have died like 15 years ago. So maybe there's a reason a lot of these other wrestlers took early exits. The people who are grappling with it right now this week are the WWE superstars who are going over to Australia for Elimination Chamber, and John Cena, who's doing press for his new movie. And Orton and Cena are sort of two sides of that coin because they were both minted by Vince McMahon. When Vince in the early 2000s was like, I'm going to be the kingmaker and I'm going to make guys, he picked three guys. He picked Randy Orton, he picked John Cena, he picked Dave Batista, and said, you are going to be the three faces of my company. So they definitely owe a debt of gratitude to him from a creative end, but they both had to talk about it in different ways. So Orton's quote was, I wouldn't be where I am without Vince McMahon taking a chance on me a handful of times. I would not be where I am today without Vince McMahon. But fuck, I'm reading this shit. What you've seen and read, I've seen and read. As far as commenting on that, it fucking hurts my heart. So that's a human response. That's a guy who saw Vince as a father figure, a guy who made him, took him from a guy who went AWOL from the Marines and was probably never going to have a job to global superstar with money and a family and a thriving life. But at the same time, he's human and he reads this. Cena was on Howard Stern, and he said, right now I'm going to love the person I love. I'm going to be their friend. I'm going to tell you I love you. You have a hill to climb. You don't know who your friends are until shit hits the fan, or lands on a legal intern, and your back is, he didn't say that part, or your back lands against the wall. I've openly said I love the guy. I have a great relationship with him, and that's that. So John, always the politician, Orton, a little bit more human. What did you guys think of those responses?
I I like Orton's response enough, right? Because exactly how you said it, it's just human to just sit there and sort of sigh and go, shit, wow. Because you can't deny that someone was important to you if that's your life and that person was important to you. But you do have to sit back and go and reassess it. The Cena thing, I liked what Howard Stern said, where Howard Stern talked about how he's been in situations with people where they were his friends. I mean, I think Harvey Weinstein was Howard Stern's friend, right? Am I
Yeah.
wrong on that? And so he said sometimes there's a line and you go, I can't cross it. Which is the right move. And yeah, John Cena is gonna John Cena. I think unfortunately, like in truth, these weren't like press releases, but if you have to sit there and really think about it, you do have to acknowledge the victim in some way. If you want like everybody to go, oh, okay, good job on actually understanding the situation, you have to at some point go like, my heart go like, I understand this still does have to go through a court of law or whatever, but my heart does go out to this person claiming this because shit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
It
mean,
seems
it seems
bad.
like
True or false, our life don't seem great right now, and so
Yeah.
you can at least acknowledge it.
even if 50% of it's true, right? I mean, she went through
Exactly.
hell.
Exactly.
And look, I can't, like, I think people are making too big of a deal out about what John Cena and what Randy Orton said. They're not the ones who were involved in this. That's, this is Vince's sin. This is Johnny Ace's sin.
Yeah.
This is not, like they're not like somebody saying the wrong thing is not the same thing as what, so like make sure the onus is on Vince on this. Um, but I agree with Scott. I mean, I think that there is a line, I guess, with if Howard, obviously if Howard's friends with, there's a difference between, like we all say, there's a difference between what Harvey Weinstein did and what fucking Louis C.K. did, right? Like there's different levels of, like what you can sign off on, but like what Vince did or what Vince is being accused of doing is much more on the Jimmy Savile, Harvey Weinstein side of things. It's much more on this is a serial predator. And I mean, it's all allegedly, and I'm somebody who has an avid interest in this company doing well, but you can't look at Vince's behavior the last 30 or 40 years, and everything he's done and all the interviews he's given and think to yourself that this guy is incapable of something like this. This is not like, we're not like debating the, and the Enzo story, right? Where it's like two people. Vince, we have a body of evidence of his involvement. We have so much smoke with Vince McMahon over the past decades and decades and decades. And I mean, there's been a clip that's just been kind of floating around the internet. I sent it to you guys in the Wrestle thread, but he's being questioned by some of the the deaths in his company, and he slaps the guy's papers out of his hand, and he starts mimicking the guy's voice. Like, this is somebody who his first response to anything is not a human response. It's, how can I get ahead of this? How can I crush this? He said he's kind of been, it's not even been like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's just been a wolf, and we've seen it he's been just walking around acting like a wolf the whole time. And we're like, oh no, he's just pretending to be a wolf. But then now we're looking at like, wait, there's a dead old lady. And it's like this he's doing wolf shit.
You leave Linda alone.
But I'm just saying, it's like, it's very hard. You always want to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? It's very hard with the body of evidence we've had about Vince, with everything from the Snuka trial to the Rita Chatterton. We're just talking about this ring boy. Even he wasn't a part of that, but he certainly kind of rehired the guy, and he pushed it under the rug. We have so much evidence. How he handled the Owen situation. How he handled Benoit. We have so much evidence of this guy making the wrong decision at every possible turn that I don't know if he gets the benefit of the doubt the same way that a normal person would get the benefit of the doubt.
So I think the other side of it, and this is the lawyer side. I remember in law school, we would talk about if bin Laden were to be captured. Well, it was before he was actually caught. There's a small part of you that would be like, as much of a monster as he is, it would be interesting to try to craft a defense for him. I had a friend that interned at The Hague during the Milosevic trial, and he talked to Milosevic's attorney and was like, everybody does deserve a defense. That's the basis of the legal system. John Cena has to hedge his bets, and Randy Orton has to hedge his bets because Vince has not provided his response. His attorney has not come out and said, okay, this is the part of the story she told. Here's my part of the story. And it's maybe like a 1% chance they have some smoking gun that's going to be like, here's all the other stuff to refute this. This was 100% consensual, whatever. So you can't totally bury him yet. And that's where these guys are walking that tightrope of Orton's like, look, I read the shit. If this is true, what the fuck? John is more diplomatic and the same thing.
The problem is when you have hiring and firing power over someone, you shouldn't be having a relationship with them.
Of course, like it's a quid pro quo situation.
This isn't two coworkers. This is somebody who's above somebody else, and you can't have that. I mean, look, and we've seen it. We've seen situations like the guy from CNN. Was it Jeff Zucker?
Yeah.
He got removed because he was having a sexual relationship with somebody who was under him, and by all appearances it was completely consensual, right? It was just that this was an affair.
But the difference with Zucker,
like,
even with Vince,
that's why they got rid of him. It's because he was above this person.
But so Vince got let go. The thing is, Vince got let go because he was taking company funds to pay this woman NDA hush money. That was what the investigation that they concluded resulted in, that he was having this affair. The affair itself was not the underlying reason for him being removed. It was misappropriation of money. So that was not what the ultimate, this current lawsuit is alleging. This is going a totally different direction than what we initially thought in terms of whether or not this was consensual or non-consensual, if there was sexual trafficking, all that other stuff. I don't disagree with you that a boss who's engaging in a relationship with a subordinate where there's an unequal balance of power is wrong. It violates company policies across the board. It opens you up to a tremendous amount of lawsuits. That was not the basis of the lawsuit here. This was not a boss subordinate relationship. She's alleging that there was non-consensual acts that she was forced into for a prolonged period of time, and she was fearful not just of losing her job, but of him saying, I have all this control and power and I can ruin your life. Her allegations, again, we have not seen the other piece of this yet. As an attorney, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. As someone who worked for Vince, who was excited to be a part of that company, it fucking sucks. It's gross. It's
I could
weird.
totally see Vince doing the Russell Simmons thing of just like growing a beard and going to Thailand. Like we just see like, these visions of like these photos of like Boo Radley Vince in a third world country.
We've
You
seen how
Oh, I
Vince
think
grows a
I think it was
mustache.
part of his vision board as a child.
know?
This is all part of the plan. He is so excited to stab someone mid-flight and take over the plane and land on an island he's known about since he was 19.
Well, it was a friend of mine who isn't, he's a casual wrestling fan. He went to like WrestleMania, but he's not like us. And he's like, wow, Vince must be freaking
He's
out.
not sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not sick. He's like, wow, Vince must be freaking out right now. And I'm like, no, he's not. Like, this is like, and that's what I realized about like Vince is, you can't talk about Vince like a normal person. Like, what Vince is thinking of right now is either one, how can I get out of this? Or two, how can I crush everybody? Like those are the two things that go on in his head.
You're not thinking of
And
the third option, Dan, because this is how fucked up this world is. I see a situation where Vince just takes his money, moves to Riyadh, and lives with like the Saudi royal family in a palace somewhere and lives the rest of his days essentially as a king.
it's
He's
very
friends with
possible.
those
So
guys.
cool.
They think he's like the greatest thing ever. You think they're going to be upset about the allegations here? They'd be like, oh, our nephew does this weekly. Like we have people that we just shit on for fun.
I mean, that's very possible. I'm honestly shocked it hasn't happened yet.
I'm shocked a lot of stuff hasn't happened yet. We haven't heard from Linda. You haven't heard from the Bella's mom. Like I'm saying, like she
We
hasn't
haven't heard
divorced
from Linda.
Ace.
Oh no, Linda. That's what the family's saying.
No,
They
Linda's
forgot they
Well,
Linda's
locked her in the
we did hear
basement.
from Linda right after it happened. She was at like some Republican conference and they tried to ask her about it. And she just goes, I'm here to focus on the conference. Like they have not had a marriage in a long time, which is why I think Rachel, Robert's wife, must be paranoid right now because I think it's only a matter of time before Linda and Robert finally get together.
that's blasphemous. That's ridiculous. And once we're done, I have to go put sunscreen on her. It's also weird. Like, where the fuck is Shane? For the dude who supposedly like had a falling out and hated his dad, this is the chance to dunk on him.
Well, there's also, and when something like this happens, there was rumors that that's one of the reasons that Shane stepped away, right? But you don't know if that's really true or if that's Shane's people dropping a story. A lot of this is going to be, it's hillbilly secession, man. Like they're going to be, everybody's going to be dropping different stories where that story is going to make that person look good. So it's fascinating that we're seeing, this WrestleMania is the first WrestleMania without a McMahon fingerprint on it, which, that's maybe a poor choice of words, but we're seeing, what a company TKO is going to do with this product. And we're seeing two things happen at the same time, which we're seeing really this product is hotter, and maybe this is the transition of actually talking about kayfabe wrestling stuff. This is the hottest the product has ever been since the Attitude Era, and it's not even particularly close. Like we've had times where CM Punk, we've had times with the Cena Rock stuff where it's starting to like, oh, maybe it's going to get hot again, but television ratings are through the roof. House show ratings, like they're selling out house shows now or filling up house shows. I mean, it's really incredible the business that they're doing. So it's really fascinating to see two things happen to this company at the same time, which is, like if this was almost any other company, I don't know if they could have survived this, but they're surviving and flourishing on
They're
the same.
thriving.
They're thriving, and I think it's a lot of it's because it is a different company. Vince isn't there anymore. But it's also it's really a fascinating thing to watch these two things happen at the same time where it's where it's a product that's on fire, and we all say, like, like, I mean, I watched the Raw this past Monday. It was great. I mean, the product hasn't been this good in forever, and all the skeletons from the Vince era are coming out. It's a really unique time to be a wrestling fan.
Because the product,
Confusing time in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
but we all kind of knew the product was suffering because of Vince McMahon and because of Kevin Dunn. And the hope is once Vince was gone and Kevin Dunn was gone, everything was going to be better. So Vince is gone, Kevin Dunn is gone, and Raw Monday night, and I'll talk just on the production end. They did camera shots and angles and techniques that you never would have gotten in the Kevin Dunn era, and even stuff that feels like a throwaway match or segment, they shoot and present in a really interesting way. They did like a shot from outside the building through a corridor into the arena, looked fantastic. They did the goofy telestrator thing with Pat McAfee. Whether that worked or not, different story. But you tried
Now
something.
wait, telestrator. That's when you draw the circle
You're
around the
drawing the
action.
circle. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a second.
yeah,
But
let's
go
talk
ahead.
about it. But my point is, it was goofy, but people had opinions about it. But hey, we tried something different. What'd you think of the Pat McAfee
Yeah,
telestrator thing?
because I saw that moment. I didn't see anybody's take on it online, but I'm like, that's a really good idea for an impactful moment that's insane. They did it in terms of like, look at his facial expression. Oh no, and now look, he's really angry. Where what could have been cool came off like funny. It was almost like an SNL sketch kind
Yes.
of. And I love the idea. It's just like, do it for something when like a body hits the floor and bounces, go like, look at his body bounce off the floor and you circle it. Like, do it for something crazy, not the acting part of wrestling, because then you're just like, you're doing play by play of a soap opera, and it's like it's cheese. Yeah.
So, a couple big matches, moments from Raw that I'll touch on. There was Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, where the Bloodline attacked Cody to help Drew win. It was Cody's first loss since last year's WrestleMania. There was a women's battle royal to
Oh, singles loss. Singles loss.
first singles loss. Thank you, Meltzer. There was a women's battle royal to determine the last entrant in the chamber, which is Raquel Rodriguez. And then in the main event, Gunther beat Jey Uso because Dan has been right all along, guys, that we're getting Jey and Jimmy at Mania. Overall,
Never doubt me.
really fun show, really strong 3 hours of TV. Couple things you can comment on all that. The other thing we saw on here,
And also, hey, if you want the in-depth analysis, join our Patreon.
join the Patreon for something to sports entertainment with. This was the first Raw that you really got a lot of UFC stuff. Michael Chandler cut a promo. You had the synergy, at the Netflix people behind Pat. So you're really seeing TKO flex their muscles. Dan, I'll start with you. What did you think of Raw, these matches, your big takeaway?
A big takeaway is Drew McIntyre's the best character they have right now. The whole image of Drew finally, because this was the cherry on the top of the Drew heel turn, right? Where he saw he saw what happened to him at Clash of the Castle, and he didn't care. He still used it for a pinfall. So I thought that was excellent. I mean, I think that Jey Uso and Gunther was really good. Yeah, I just thought the match itself kind of, I mean, the night itself was kind of firing off on all cylinders, and then they were smart to have a strong show, and the show did really well in the ratings because SmackDown was such a huge show. So how do you capitalize on that? Well, you do matches that you don't do a bull rope Nakamura match again. You do something that we haven't seen before. So I thought that the show was kind of like a home run. I mean, I like the R-Truth stuff. Meltzer did not. He thought it was silly.
He
But
hates fun. Fuck. How could you watch the R-Truth stuff and not like that? Like, what was his
I,
argument? It was a
his
funny
argument,
segment, and it's going to pay.
I
Here's the
just
thing,
thought it
Nick.
was cheesy. But
It
that's
was
the point.
it's at the point you're supposed to be endeared to R-Truth, find him lovable. So when Priest murders him, you want to see something bad happen to Damian Priest. It's
Yeah.
not like the old 24/7 stuff where R-Truth runs out, does something wacky, and then it just doesn't matter. Like everything here, it feels like it matters. It doesn't feel like just shit's happening for the sake of happening. it's like Hunter is doing things with intention.
Rhea is for sure a star. That's what I got from that
Yeah.
sit down. Nia Jax is still not one.
Nope.
uh, like that's, I mean, it's just so when she said I'm twice your size and three times your talent, you could almost hear like the collective shaking of the crowd's head, like three times your talent. What are you fucking talking about? Like you can't get through a match without botching, and every single promo you do is horrendous. Um, it got like, you just see how they and they didn't even do anything great, but just how they positioned the women, for the Elimination Chamber versus how, Tony positions Tony Storm and Deonna Purrazzo on Dynamite. Just how you showcase them. I mean, it's just night and day. And now we're gonna get again another stripped down four match pay-per-view that the build has been great, but it's also we're still keeping the WrestleMania build. And, Hunter's done, like we gave him rightful shit on the press conference because it was not a good answer.
Yeah.
But as far as like how the product has been handled, I mean, I would argue to say that it's in a lot of ways better than the Attitude Era. They don't have Austin, they don't have Heel Rock, but they also don't have, Al Snow cooking pepper, right? They don't have these things that were like or like 10 heel and face turns on the same show because Vince Russo's writing it. So yeah, I mean, I think that is I'd wager to say there's an argument for this being the best written wrestling product of all time. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too kind, but everything kind of makes sense. There's not even the stuff that's bad. You're kind of like, well, that's not as bad as it could be. Like it's
It's
not Heidenreich
yeah.
raping fucking Michael Cole backstage or something like that.
No, it makes sense, and the in-ring product is strong. You're not getting just 2-minute matches. The Drew Cody match, I enjoyed the hell out of that. I know Scott has, I think, a different take on it, but I liked it because we pretty much know Cody's winning the title at Mania, which means he's going to be on SmackDown, which means this is the one opportunity you have to do a Drew Cody one-on-one babyface heel match this year. Drew's going to pivot to wherever he's going after Chamber. So you wanted this bite of the apple. I thought it was a really fun match, Scott, but I know in the thread you had a different take on this one.
Well, I'm glad the match happened. I think like storyline wise, it makes all of the sense for the reasons you said, and because I think Drew is walking away at Mania with the title, and to have that over Cody is really cool. So I agree with all of that, and I think the result was actually perfect. The way Cody lost, the fact that it was a very that exact moment from last year's WrestleMania, blah blah blah, all very very great. I like all of that. It's just the match itself wasn't good. Like it was just fine enough. I even felt like the crowd wasn't even crazy about it. Like I thought they were like, "Oh, this is cool," but yeah, I just feel like most of, especially WWE's television show matches lately, the great part is the endings are interesting, and you go, "Oh, I can't wait for the rest of the storyline." But the matches, yeah, it didn't really pop for me.
No,
Did it
I
pop for you, Dan?
I thought it was a solid match. I mean, we've never on the show, we've never thought that Cody is the best in-ring performer. He kind of rises to whoever, like look at Cody's great matches. It's been with Sammy Guevara, who's very good in ring, when he's not destroying people's faces. It's been with Roman, who, like I know you think like the Roman matches are limited, but what he can do in the ring, I mean, he's an athlete, he can tell a good story. Cody's always going to be as good as who they're going at to me. And I think Drew's great, but I just think that I think that because they both came up in the WWE system, there's just not going to be the sparkle on them. I mean, I know they both work the indies quite a bit, but there's just not that, extra level of this is different. So I think I probably am somewhere in between you and Robert on this.
And I guess what I mean is like I wouldn't have cared because again, this is like typical of WWE. But this match did feel really special because Drew is so hot right now, and I mean these are the two
Right.
hottest guys in the company. If you're watching the shows, and so then to just have this match, it's like yeah, I even understand having it. but like, damn, it better be fire, you know? And I
Yeah.
feel like even the Shinsuke match, which I didn't even give a shit about, was like somehow better than this, you know? So that's all I'm
Well,
saying.
I mean, Shinsuke, the problem with Shinsuke is he doesn't want to get hurt. You can see him, you can see how he wrestles versus how he wrestles in Japan. I mean, his big thing is I want to make which, all for him, but I mean, there's different philosophies, man. I mean, that's why, like, as a character, I don't think Seth Rollins is revolutionary, but his in-ring style, like, in the sense that he was able to like really use Ring of Honor and meld it with WWE in a way that we really haven't seen before. I guess AJ kind of did that too. But there's not many guys who can do that, man. There's not many guys who can fuse those two styles and make it, a product that's that what I mean, Seth's one of those, Kevin is one of those guys. I think.
I think
But for the most,
Gunther has shown. I mean, his style. He took
well,
the
he's
European
he's a
style,
different,
but
he's
he's
like a catch
fused.
British
Yeah,
style.
but he's fused that catch British style into the WWE spectacle, and it
Yeah,
makes his matches unique and different, but still feels like it's WWE. We're gonna keep this moving along because we're gonna talk the Elimination Chamber preview. Unless you're in Germany, in which case it's called No Escape because they're very sensitive there in the country that murdered my family. But we're gonna talk the Elimination
by the
Chamber.
way, I've been reading this book, Rise of the Third Reich, and man, that Hitler, not a great guy.
I don't know, Dan. We haven't. None of the facts have come out yet. John Cena has said that you got to stand by your friends. This guy was a hell of a painter, but we'll get there.
I just finished the part where it's like the whole chapter was just how bad Nazi art was during that time, and it's all because like Hitler hated Chagall and all these people that he couldn't, like, because he wasn't as good as them. So it was like, yeah, it was, and even Nazi, like, there's terrible Nazi playwrights. Like, it turns out a totalitarian regime does not create the best art, guys.
Yeah. We'll get to Dynamite later, but anyway, Elimination Chamber, 4 match card, 5 segment show because there's the Grayson Waller effect with Seth and Cody, which is at least smart to get those guys on there. First match is the undisputed tag title match, the Judgment Day against the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. I'll just take this one first. I think it's going to be a great match. I think Dunne and Bate are a really good team. Pete Dunne, no longer being Butch, is able to show what he can do. Those guys with Finn are going to have a hell of a lot of fun. Priest will get his moments in there. I don't see them taking the titles off Judgment Day because I think the money is those guys against Awesome Truth. Dan, what do you think of this match?
I agree with everything you just said. It's interesting to see, like, because you'd think like Io Shirai, she had so many great NXT matches, like that we've seen everything she can do, right? But then look at these clips from Stardom where she's doing stuff that I've never fucking even seen before. So I wonder how much they hold people back as far as like what they could do in the ring. Um, because obviously with those two guys, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, I mean they're just like expert level wrestlers, um,
They've
or a
done a great
drama.
job on SmackDown of showing it. I've been
Yeah,
crazy about their matches on SmackDown.
Match
they're
they had
so
with
good. And
DIY crowd was into, and the crowd hasn't given a shit about DIY since they've been back.
Yo, the DIY thing is funny because obviously I love those guys. I think they're great. I'm like a huge fan of that time in NXT. Uh, but when R Truth made the joke where he called them
Sean
like
and Mitch.
HBK and Triple H, our truth is so funny, but I hated that because no one like cares about them right now. And so fucking up their names felt like when John Cena insults Claudio's nipples or something. You're like, too true, too true.
Yeah, but you got that moment on Raw during the 8-man tag where Miz and DIY and Truth did the DX like suck it chant and the crowd popped. So
Yeah.
they're kind of taking that ride a little bit. Scott, so
Devil's
Yeah, I think
advocate, I enjoy Cesaro's nipples. Okay,
that sounds
I
about
think
right.
I think they're
Uh,
interesting.
they look like Scott's holding up his red coffee mug. Like the lid of it is just this wide red thing. It looks like Cesaro's nipples. It's fucking disturbing. Scott, I'm guessing you have Judgment Day retaining as well.
yeah, I do. And then I would guess like at Mania, they defend the titles and Damian gets hurt because he's got the money in the bank briefcase, right?
Yes.
I understand he's being a respectable guy, but night two, in theory, he should be showing up unless he's injured. And so make it a, fuck it, throw a few tag teams in there and make it a TLC match, and then he falls off something. Who
So I
cares?
think they're going to do Awesome Truth against Judgment Day. But I think what'd be funny is if you have R-Truth steal the briefcase, and that's why Priest can't cash in.
Dude, that's it. Call
Like,
him up.
all right. This whole card, I'll be honest, I don't think there's going to be any differences in who we pick on all of them, which is fine because that's the sign of good booking. Like, it's logical and it also makes the storylines good, and you want to see it pay off. Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax. It's a chance for Rhea to be the babyface in Australia against someone that everybody hates. I don't see Rhea Ripley losing. I'm hoping she doesn't get hurt. Scott, what's your thought?
Yeah, Rhea wins. That is funny though. This wild fear that, and it's not wild. It's almost
It's not.
rational that she could get hurt. And I think that should be the entire story of the match. Is, oh my god, she might actually get hurt. And one, where do you know they're both from there? Nia was born there.
Really?
Yeah, look it up on Wikipedia. She was born in Australia.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know how long she grew up there, but she was born there. And but yeah, that needs to be the story of the match. I mean, that needs to be Nia's character. Is like, she might ruin the future feuds we want for this person that we're actually going to be invested in. And also, the way you're reading this match card is how I think the card should go. This shit starts at like 4:30 in the morning. I know you're thinking, oh, Rhea, you close out the show with Rhea. I don't know,
Not
man. I
that
think close
match.
out with the two
I
chambers. Treat this like boxing now, dude. You have ties with the UFC. Do it right. The last two matches are the chamber.
Well, it takes a lot to set the chamber up, so I get it. Women's chamber, Becky Lynch,
Yeah, but
Bianca,
again, because it's 4:30 in the morning, you like have a half hour of setting up the chamber while you're just bullshitting and waiting for America to wake up.
Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Raquel Rodriguez. There's no way it's not Becky, right?
I don't know how it could be anyone unless they want to call an audible and have it be Bianca, but I think they're going to save that for next year's Mania.
Yeah, they've already teased we've never seen Becky and Rhea one-on-one. That's a strong night one main event if they
Yeah,
want
it
to
was
go
in the
down.
press conference. There's no way. This isn't a Vince show where like if it was Vince, we'd be like, maybe there is a chance Nia Jax goes over and they make it like some triple threat or something we really don't want. But yeah, I mean, all the right decisions are going to be made on this show.
And I think you can put Bianca and Naomi together to go after the women's tag titles. You could put Raquel and Liv together to go after the women's tag titles at Mania. Like they have what to do. You really only have one option with Becky, and it'll be cool to see Stratton do something like awesome jumping off a pod. Uh, Men's chamber, even more telegraphed than the women's. It's Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul. None of the other guys even make the least amount of sense to be going up against Seth Rollins. So it's got to be Drew.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the big intrigue of this match is what's going to happen between LA Knight, Logan Paul, and Kevin Owens,
Yeah.
right? Like what direction they're going to go for the United States title. Um, it's got to be Drew. Drew's a character that, they brought Randy back and he's gotten great reactions, but they really haven't, babyface Orton, there's only so much you can do with him unless you have like, a Riddle or somebody like kind of an interesting foil. He's just kind of like, the guy that you cheer for. So I think it's got to be Drew. What does that mean then? Does that mean that the second night of Mania it's just going to be Drew destroying Seth after this? Because we assume the first night of Mania is going to be headlined by that tag match, right?
I hope
I
not,
mean, even though
but
they
it's
haven't announced
possible.
the tag match, I
They
don't know
haven't
what else.
announced. They haven't announced
They've
any.
been setting up the tag match this whole time, though.
It's a
You
tag.
know,
It's a tag. I don't know if it's main eventing, but it's a tag match. I would assume. It's also that one year where when people go, but it should be the women's title match, which I wouldn't mind that. You can now play this card of The Rock is on the board and moving everything around. He's a real motherfucker,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
it's possible, but yeah, no, I think if you do the tag match, it has to be Seth's not 100%, and Drew just like picks the bones.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
nothing.
think
Yeah, no, no
if
one else
Rock's
makes
if
sense.
that's the only Rock match on the show, they're going to headline with it. There's no way they're not going to headline with it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're definitely getting, because he's quote unquote Hollywood Rock now, which we didn't even me and Dan talked about on the Patreon, but we didn't talk to you about, Robert, that Hollywood Rock promo from Friday. But so he's definitely gonna send in a video because that's
Yes.
Hollywood Rock. He'll be like on the set of a movie talking shit. And what I hope they do, I mean, maybe him and Roman filmed something together already, but I hope it's like this idea of they both send in things, and it's very obvious that Roman is not getting invited to the places The Rock is at. And I think eventually after Mania, the feud, when it's finally The Rock Roman, Roman needs to be like, this whole acknowledge me thing. He needs to turn around and be like, it was because you never did. Like, you raised my hand at the Royal Rumble. You were embarrassed because everybody booed and you fucking
That's
dipped.
good.
And this whole time, I've just wanted you to acknowledge me, And then The Rock will go, acknowledge me.
God,
And
The
we'll go,
Rock.
this is the best shit ever.
I've seen that. I've seen people saying that The Rock is really aligned with Cody all along, and he's going to
Oh,
turn
don't
on
do that.
Roman.
That's
I
ass.
hate that,
Dude, Cody can't have people helping him. Like he
exactly.
needs good guys helping him, not The Rock. That's some like Hulk Hogan thinking, oh, I could save the day and everybody would love that. No, we wouldn't.
No, no, I would hate if it's like this was the plan all along.
Although Hogan coming out and hitting The Rock would get a huge
Uh,
pop. Now Scott may have just fixed the WrestleMania main event. If Hogan is the guy who saves Cody, I mean, what a redemption story like that would be. Like this guy that was persona non grata for WWE, and now he's back. Because who else do you have to pull a
oh,
trigger on? I mean,
well,
Steve's not going to work the event.
Here's what
you don't know. You don't know because here, I mean, here's the thing. Like Rock is acting against the corporate rules that have been set up by TKO, and there's only one man that can truly enforce the law, the Stone Cold Law, and that's Steve Austin.
That's true.
I love
I thought
it.
you were going to say Big Boss Man for a second, but he's dead.
But
He is
that is
he
the
is dead.
thing, because one of the reasons that I was upset that Cody should have won last year, um, was because there's that moment in the match where Sammy and Kevin Owens come out to assist him as well. And it's like this perfect moment of every story coming together. Well, in this one, are we going to get that? Like, who's going when the bloodline does try to interfere, who is going to help Cody this time? And you're right. It's like, do we elevate it? It still does kind of need to be Sammy and Owens, but then who? And that is when the glass shatters and we weep.
That's why you because you're already going to have Sammy's most likely going to face Gunther. Like that's what I've been saying that for a long time. Sammy's promo on Raw, I think, telegraphed that pretty well.
That'd be amazing. I would love
That's
that.
a great match. So if Sammy's, whatever, he wins, but he's out and he's hurt and he's not going to be able to be there, you're probably going to get Owens, Logan Paul. So if Logan Paul knocks Owens out and Owens isn't there and Cody really is
LA
all
Knight
alone.
didn't happen. That happened already.
No, we haven't seen that either.
Then that's the one. We already saw Kevin Owens.
Here's
Logan,
the shitty thing. There's only one real answer, and we're not going to get it, and it's Dustin. It's Dustin.
I've thought about that. Like that would get a huge. If Dustin came out for the main event, that would get a huge pop. But that's not. I mean, Tony's not going to let that happen.
Tony's not going to let that happen.
WWE hasn't let them use the Sting footage, so I don't think there's any goodwill, between these two companies right now.
It's that there, nor should there be. Like
Ted DiBiase Jr.
You're there. You go. Yes, reform legacy. Orton's there. Is Samu still alive?
DiBiase just cuts a promo, but it's all about like how he doesn't understand how laundering money works, just so he doesn't have to go to jail.
DiBiase Jr. dressed in like Nails' his old costume.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna do we'll briefly do Dynamite or Dud here for this show that like I think we're gonna care about it more than Tony is. We got Moxley and Claudio versus FTR in a tag match that went to a time limit draw and a big brawl after, which would have been cool if you just had this match and you got this momentum and then you build to a pay-per-view match. But to me was weird because last week Moxley just suddenly turned heel and choked out Dax, which made this like a personal war and not a professional respect. And we want to see who's the best. But I thought the match was really fun.
Yeah, I thought this was the best part of Dynamite, this match.
Yeah.
I mean, people have criticized it a little bit because of the time limit draw. But
Yeah.
I mean,
You need to
Dax
get to the
Harwood,
pay-per-view.
Dax for me is, Seth for WWE, where it's like it's almost impossible for them to have a bad in-ring match. Like I can't think of one bad. I'm sure somebody can pull it up, like and be like, all right, well, this Dax Harwood match is really tough. But man, that guy is just such a great fucking wrestler. I think the only thing that's holding, the sword of Damocles above those guys is Cash's going to trial for, brandishing a firearm in a traffic dispute, and he may see some time from that.
Yeah.
We get to see, but that's not going away.
Yeah, but that's when you plug in Briscoe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great fix.
Orange.
I like this match. This was for me. This was the highlight of Dynamite.
I thought it was a great match, and one of the reasons I didn't like the draw is because it was like 8:25, and so I was kind of confused. Like these are 20-minute time limits, or But anyway, what I also like about it is AEW was never doing draws forever, forever, forever,
Yeah.
and then they were rarely doing them, and then they did it last week, and now this week, and there's this. They also just brought back the rankings, and they're kind of telling this story of like we have a top talent problem. Everybody is very good here, which I think it's because we might get a tag tournament.
When they relinquish the belts.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think Sting is gonna win, dude.
We'll get to that
Yeah.
because I was gonna say that when we get there. But Orange Cassidy took on Mike Bennett. The Kingdom come out to attack, and then Jake Hager made the save because apparently I was playing an old SmackDown game where random guys just run in and the system makes no sense. But Jake Hager now super hot babyface helping Orange Cassidy. Scott, was this explained somewhere like on a fucking like Instagram clip?
I do not believe it was, and I did not like it. I think this Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy shit has been so bad. It has been the main focus of this, like, what is really the devil story ever since MJF has been gone. And so you've been focusing on Orange Cassidy, really, and not getting the job done. Oof. Yeah, I really dislike this. And again, I like all the talent and stuff, but boo, 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 poo, poo.
Keep those boos coming because the Nature Boy Ric Flair showed up. They made a big deal like this fancy car. It was just like a random SUV, and then Flair gets out, and Flair's
Well, we
promo
should
was.
talk about they're trying to do WWE stuff with Ruby Soho going out with
I was trying to ignore that. Angelo Parker.
Angela Parker. They like went on a date and they. I mean,
Oh,
maybe
dude, they've been doing that for months on
Yeah,
Rampage.
they're gonna go on a date, but and then like Flair's car pulls up. So Flair comes out and basically said, I got brought back for Sting's last match. I've been disappointed in how little I've been used. I need to explore other options. And he goes to the Young Bucks locker room. I didn't think I could hate this Young Bucks Sting Darby storyline anymore. And they found a way, Dan.
Yeah, I think that this is the story. There is kind of the one we just tell what we're afraid of the Rock's Cody storyline being, right? Is that like we're gonna see, Ric Flair pretend to be in cahoots with the Young Bucks, and then he's gonna oh, I've been with Sting the whole time, but we've seen Rick with Sting the whole time, right? So it's like it's just a weird story to tell. Like Sting has been, I mean, Ric Flair has been nothing but this, elder statesman babyface for Sting the whole run that he's had, and every once in a while we've seen him like chop Powerhouse Hobbs or something. So now we're gonna rush this because the pay-per-view's in like 2 weeks, right? So we're gonna
it's next weekend.
right, we're gonna rush a Flair heel turn just so we can get. I mean, I just don't see, it just seems like they're throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall. The match kind of sells itself. I don't think you really need Rick there. If you want to do something with Rick, I mean, right now I would do like, remember how like WWE was using him with Carlito before Flair retired? Like give him to a guy who's not on the tippy top right now to try to give him something to do instead of a story that already sells itself.
You know what it is? It's Tony is reverting to like 11-year-old mode, and I'm sure we're gonna get a Flair like babyface turn, but he wants Flair to get to cut one more promo on Sting next week. Like, that's all it is. He's like, it'd be great if we could get one more Flair, yelling at Sting, and this is the only way to do it. So we're living one guy's fan service, and we're just going to have to kind of grin and bear it. Speaking of grinning and bearing it, Danny Garcia.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I
Oh,
didn't get to say
oh, sorry,
anything
sorry.
about
I
it.
thought you were on mute. Sorry, I thought you had to
Okay,
step away.
When Flair shows up and he starts talking about how I feel like I've been misused during this, I came here to be a big part of Sting's final months here in AEW. I haven't been getting phone calls. I thought he was shooting. I was like,
Me
oh
too.
shit. Yeah, I was like, oh shit, Ric Flair was supposed to do some storyline stuff because this is how Ric Flair talks on Twitter and shit.
Yes.
He says these things all the time.
Eeyore.
Yes, he always says stuff like this. As he was saying it, and I knew he was going to the Bucks office, it worked for me. Here's why. The story of Ric Flair and Sting is when Sting thinks Ric Flair is his friend, Sting has a major match, and Ric Flair tries to help Sting, but then screws Sting. He's a heel. So this isn't Ric Flair's going to help Sting. This is, they planted the seed so that when Ric Flair comes out and does turn on Sting, I don't even think we might get a moment with Ric Flair next week, but we're not going to get Ric Flair really until the pay-per-view, which is him trying to turn on Sting and Sting finally not letting it happen because it's always happened. Sting's not going to let Ric Flair screw him. The match will continue for another awesome 15 minutes. And then Sting, I think
that the match should be 15 minutes.
No, it should be 17. I think we'll get a 17 banger.
Yeah, 17 I'm okay with.
4.5 at best. There's Danny Garcia promo. I guess Adam Copeland is now hurt. So we're getting Danny Garcia versus Christian Cage at the pay-per-view. Christian came out and said, your dad is dead. And he was an alcoholic.
Okay, this is my favorite part. It's Christian every time Christian cuts a dead dad promo, I immediately stop what I'm doing and I focus all attention on it.
I don't know. Rachel walked in. She's like, he sounds like AI. Like, he doesn't even sound like a person talking. It took a while to get to the dead dad thing, but we're getting Danny Garcia and Christian. There were 2 women's matches. Toni Storm took on Sydney Winnell in a pretty quick squash. Then Deonna Purrazzo took on Madison Rayne. Looks like Madison got hurt pretty bad when she got dropped on her head at one point.
That was a rough match, man.
If these 2 matches made you excited to see Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo, you should be drug tested. But though they were on TV, they weren't at 9:30. It's the nicest thing I could say. There's a Darby video because they don't trust Darby with a live microphone anymore, where he's showing a photograph of Sting with his kids. And you finally got the emotional promo you didn't get last week of Sting being like, you attacked my kids. No one's ever laid their hands on my family before. Also, my dad died. So I'm going to go beat the fuck out of you, young bucks. And I'm like, that's all I need. Scott?
Yeah, so what I saw on this show was the best Daniel Garcia promo I've ever seen and the best Sting promo I've ever seen. I thought those 2 promos were the best promos I've ever seen each guy do. Yeah, both were awesome. And the crowd was like drunk all night, man. This crowd was wild. I don't know if you had the volume up, but this crowd was into everything.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It's funny because my wife was in the room and she's like, "Who's that guy?" Which it's just so funny to watch wrestling with like people who don't like wrestling because it's like all these things that you revere.
Yep.
You're like, oh, like normal people still think this is lame.
Oh, when Rachel was shitting on the Christian promo, I'm like, really? And she's like, he doesn't sound like a person. He sounds like a robot. This is kind of boring. Like, oh, I get it. Your dad's dead. Whatever.
That's the best. I mean, Christian's whole gimmick of like making fun of dead fathers is just the funniest thing in the world. And the fact that he's over with dead dads is just so funny to me.
Wardlow cut, in my opinion, the best promo he's ever cut by far. This is the Wardlow we've been bitching and moaning about, saying we want to see. No kingdom, no goofy bullshit. He went out there and laid out in storyline a roadmap for why he should be world champion in the You had me fight CM Punk, I beat CM Punk. You had me fight MJF, I beat MJF. You had me fight Samoa Joe, I beat Samoa Joe. You're feeding me fucking nobodies. Let me fight the world champion. I'll be your world champion. Fuck y'all. Bye.
Yeah, I guess I don't see what everyone else sees in Wardlow. I just thought, you
Really?
know,
I thought he'd
yeah,
be
I
like
just
your
don't, everyone was
guy.
talking about how great this promo is, and I just thought I just think he's kind of boring, man. I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to put him in the main event now that Hangman is hurt. Um, what's going to happen there? But
Nah.
I'm not sure. Probably not. I will agree that it's good that they didn't have the Kingdom out there. I mean, I think the Kingdom storyline is bad enough that you could take Adam Cole off TV for a couple months and we just break them up and nobody talks about it. Like I think
Yeah, I
it's
think it's over. I think this Wardlow promo like signified a
yeah,
direction of, hey, this isn't working. Go out there, and
right.
holy shit, did he go out there? Because like, yeah, like Robert said, like I saw the three best promos from three different guys tonight of their careers.
I
Yeah.
mean, would you agree, Scott, that at this point you shouldn't even end the Kingdom storyline? You should just kind of pretend like it didn't happen. Um,
No, it
like
should be the real problem is Adam Cole is like, he's this ringleader where you're going, okay, so he's gonna eventually be their world champion, but he's like pale and in a wheelchair.
yeah,
You need to really rush this Wardlow thing where he's like, hey, Wardlow, you've been frowning behind me. Like, I'm really trying to get this thing going. And Wardlow needs to just shove his wheelchair down steps and we're
yeah.
we're going. This
Yeah,
is
but then he's a
over.
babyface.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, they
Main
need more baby faces, man.
well,
Yeah, maybe he's a babyface. Let him talk that shit.
main event was Samoa Joe, Swerve, and Brian Cage against Hangman Page, Hook, and Rob Van Dam. Two stories coming out of this one here. First, Van Dam is the one who loses to help further that Hangman's going to be a heel and be angry at him. Second, Hangman apparently broke his ankle. We don't have confirmation of exactly what it is. He severely hurt his ankle. Meltzer is suggesting a break, so he most likely will not be in the triple threat match coming up next Sunday. So worst case scenario all around, guys.
I mean, look, worst case because a man is hurt and getting hurt sucks,
Because he's
right?
hurt and he's your main event. Yeah, I mean, you can still do Swerve and Joe, and now it's full on babyface Swerve against Joe.
Oh yeah, I mean, and one, Meltzer's been getting worked like wild lately. I don't know what's going on where everybody has been like, put up the guard, fuck this guy. So do I think his ankle is broken? Probably not. You have an opportunity because of the Hangman losing his mind and going so far to make sure Swerve isn't in the main event, that he's gone so far now he doesn't get to be in the main event. So what I would do is, if he's good enough to walk out there, you have him be in that triple threat and he walks out there and he can't do it. And he's fumbling and fucking up and Joe and Swerve are fighting or he gets out quickly, but it's all of this stubbornness is like quote unquote furthering the injury and storyline because he needs to make sure Swerve doesn't win.
Isn't that a babyface thing though? Like to
Yeah.
work on a broken leg?
No, he's being a maniac though. He's being a stubborn maniac.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying to blow it for just the same way he was like yelling. There's a way to be stubborn in work where it's like, dude, you're being irrational and ruining everything for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
And just like he was yelling at RVD and Rob Van Dam the whole match, which was awesome. Now it's, you guys also blew the championship for me. Not only did Swerve Samoa Joe blow the championship for me because I hurt my leg in this match, now he's going to murder Rob Van Dam and he's going to mangle Hook. And when he mangles Hook, you have this storyline of, hey, this is, that's someone's kid. Just like Swerve hovered over someone's kid. Now you're mangling someone's kid in front of him while he does commentary. And now we've gone full circle and AEW has a hot storyline. So, this worst case scenario is it's just the story. Like, yeah, it sucks because the guy doesn't get to be in the match. But at the end of the day, Swerve was winning that match anyway. And the way Swerve was going to win that match was Hangman was going to go too far and blow it for himself. Well, guess what? He went too far and broke his ankle now.
Very possible.
So whether they're working us or not, it's the best storyline.
Well, speaking of the best, let's go to high spot, low spot here. Scott, what's your high spot, low spot of the week?
Oh, my high spot is Michael Oku fought Will Ospreay in a match in Rev Pro.
Holy
Uh,
shit! Yeah,
I
dude,
haven't
just
seen that. I heard it was
I
unbelievable.
saw
amazing.
some clips of that
Yeah, I'll
on
send you the link, Dan. Oh, it was so hard to find. I finally watched it yesterday,
I gotta
like
watch
late
it.
last night.
There's one move they did that was like, I don't know how the fuck they did it.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. When Osprey was about to do the pile driver.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like that was a tribute to, I guess, some young UK wrestler who that was his finisher and he
thanks
passed away this
Excalibur.
year or something.
Well,
Of
whatever
course.
it was a cool spot. But
But yeah, really cool spot. But that is my high spot. Awesome match. And then also they showed clips of Rev Pro this week because Orange Cassidy was on that show, which I think is cool. And Osprey is showing up next week, which I hope they don't do Don Callis not getting him at the airport. I hope they have Don Callis get him at the airport and Osprey is like, carrying gear and it's annoying. But I hope they don't do the CM Punk all in thing with Will Osprey as he enters the company with Callis. But that's
what's
my
your
high spot.
what's your low spot?
Osprey match. Osprey. Who? Oh, I did have a low spot. Hold on. Let's see. I wrote it down actually. It's like a simple low spot. Where is my low spot, bro?
While you're looking
Oh,
for it,
Kyle Fletcher is hurt. Did you guys know that?
shit, no, I didn't.
Yeah, he's hurt, and so he can't be wrestling right now.
That sucks. Dan, what's your
Yeah.
high spot, low spot?
Yeah, as far as high spot, we live in a time now where you can just go on YouTube and watch these classic AWA matches. So if you've never seen like Misawa matches, like I think in or Kabashi matches, I think in ring, there really is nothing better than AWA late 90s, early 2000s, or even mid 90s. Like the stuff that they were doing was just this strong style breakneck pace. I mean, it's more brutal than some New Japan matches. So like that's my high spot, is that we kind of like live in this time where you can, for the, like when we were growing up, especially me and Robert, you would have to like send away to get like the Japanese death matches,
Yes, the tape trading stuff.
the tape trading stuff. And now like we're living in a situation where you can see a lot of it. Like Scott's gonna send me a link to this Michael Oku match, which I hear is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And you
um
can mute these matches. Like I love Japanese commentary. Obviously, I don't understand what they're saying, but the passion is just fun. But you can mute the commentary, open up another YouTube page on your laptop, and play any music you want while these guys are beating each other to death. You can play Mozart. You can play Led Zeppelin.
you can play a podcast of these guys talking about the match.
You
you
can
know
very much so do that.
Dan, what's your low spot?
Me and Scott's high spot was fun with the internet.
Yeah,
Low
you,
spot, I
you
mean, I
guys heard of
can't.
the internet? That was literally both your high spots.
A low spot, I mean, I can't. You can't bring up new ring boy allegations and not make that a low spot, right? I mean,
Watch
it's
me.
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I would say that that's I mean, I guess the silver lining is that, like, we talk about, like, Meltzer has kind of been missing every big story, but actually Banfield, I guess she's been really on all this WWE stuff, and she's done some really great reporting. Because I guess nobody trusts Dave anymore, so they're going to like a real news person. But yeah, I would say, I mean, low spot, if any of this ring boy stuff is fucking true, I mean, and that's lower than low.
My high spot actually just happened a couple hours ago, because I saw this clip and it was absolutely fantastic. Austin Theory is over in Perth, and I guess he got into an argument with the West Australia editor in chief because this guy, again, someone just decided to be like, wasn't this shit all fake? And Theory kind of just went off on him in kind of little Dr. D. David Schultz style. Not a does not feel real. I mean, it does not feel staged, because the way it's shot, like, this is like someone was just like filming this while they're screaming at each other. It's not like a professional camera. And Theory gets really hot. He comes across really earnest in what he does there. It's cool to see guys that stick up for the business like that. and genuinely care about it, especially the young guys. We've seen it with Theory. My low spot. This is kind of a slight low spot, but just more of this is the world we live in. On the have you heard of the internet? Chris Van Vliet had O'Shea Jackson Jr. on, and O'Shea Jackson Jr. is Ice Cube's son. He was in Straight Outta Compton. He was in the Andor, the Star Wars show. Great guy, known him for a while. He was talking about his fandom, and it's always cool when you have an actor, celebrity, famous person who's like not just like a casual fan, but like hardcore, can sit and go back and forth and talk to you about it. And in the show, he was critical of AEW in the same way we've been critical of, you just put guys out there and you don't tell me who they are and give me their backstory. I want to care about who these folks are. Like in UFC, when they put a guy out there, they give you a backstory and you pick who you want to root for. I wish AEW would do that more. And the internet came after him with like pitchforks of like, how dare you, fuck you. And then Tony Khan, who can't help himself, decided to interject into this and say like, hey, there's other stuff out there. You should watch more wrestling. It's great. You'll enjoy it. And used another fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm clip. Stop weaponizing Larry David. He's our guy. All right, fucker. But like, let the actor whose dad is one of the all-time like greats in music have his opinion.
I don't know if Ice Cube's the all-time great.
One of the all-time greats in his realm.
No, he's not even close to the top fucking.
This
rap.
dude wasn't giving Usher any love the other week.
Yeah, and then I watched the halftime show, and you know what?
Now he knows Ice Cube's sitting front row at WrestleMania this year.
I would love a podcast where Robert just talks about the greats of rapping.
You know what?
Just hip hop, R&B with Robert.
As soon as we're done, I'm reaching out to Wale. I'm making this happen. It's going to be me and Wale talking the greats of hip hop. It'll be
you're the record producer that screws them with the first contract.
Yes, my dream in life
in the
is
biopic.
My dream is to be Hesh from The Sopranos. Like that's the money right there. Speaking of money, Dan, do you have any plugs?
Oh, hey, I'm actually going to talk about it. I'm going to send something separate to. We're going to record something at the very end where I'm just going to plug the show. But yeah, see me at Dallas Comedy Club next Friday and Saturday night. I'm going to be headlining March 1st and 2nd. It's a
Some
new
of
club.
Our Forbidden Dorks on the Facebook page have said they're coming to this show.
Yeah, so please buy tickets. I want to sell them out, and I'm going to be doing, a good chunk of new. So please check it out. And more importantly, my special comes out on March 12th, Dance Fatty Dance. It'll be free.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's Dance Fatty Dance. I have a number I want to get to, so hopefully we can get there. Scott opened, he did a great job. Yeah, check out all things Dan St. Germain stand-up. Thank you.
Scott?
I got another podcast out for Smokes. Check that out, and check this out. Oh, also, if you're in Connecticut, I forget where, but I'm opening for Anthony DeVito this Saturday in western Connecticut, if that's even a thing. Gotta be.
Yeah, there are directions.
Yes,
northeast,
all right.
south, and west. Cool. We will be back with our Patreon this weekend. There's Rampage seems oddly stacked, so we may touch on Rampage, Collision, SmackDown, all kinds of good stuff there. We will not be watching another episode of that Bianca Belair reality show because we value our lives. You can follow me on Twitter at WWCreative_ISH. I have another show every day at noon Eastern called Rumor and Innuendo with my co-host Dominic D'Angelo. You can get that wherever you listen to podcasts or on video feeds. But until then, Scott, what do you want to say to the fine folks?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Thanks, guys.